Kate Floss, and we're on the record with Kim. And what we're talking about today is that we're going to be asking for a repeal of the New Zealand 1990 Bill of Rights, which is the Bill of Wrongs. And it actually is connected to hundreds of United Nations and refugees laws, of which the battle on at the moment, we've got a 1688 Bill of Rights from the common law. That is the common law. And anything that comes out of the 1688 Bill of Rights, because it's common law, it trumps every single law on this earth. And what they've done is pulled this sneaky, where they have tried to attach. Now, this 1990 Bill of Wrongs is actually called an ordinary law. And an ordinary law can be changed. An ordinary law can be manipulated by the politicians, but constitutional law can't. Constitutional law and in fact the common law, the original common law, nothing can override it. It's called indubitable. Now, I just wanted to point out to Kim. Now, Kim's done this lovely thing here. She's put up the New Zealand flag, and she's put up our 5-point with the red and white St. George's cross. And she's put that up because this is the actual flag that was given to the New Zealand Maori, that were not married, the New Zealand natives, the actual flag that was given to them by the king. And the flag that they're flying is not the flag that was given by the king. And the reason they're not flying the flag by the king is because they're doing many very suspicious things with this 8-point flag. So Kim has put up the flag that was given by the king and was gazetted in the Australian, the Sydney or New South Wales Gazette. And Kim has put up the invoke our 1688 Bill of Rights, and Kim has done, I'm just talking about you, Kim. Kim has done that because the 1688 is in fact your common law that has been put to paper, because the pen is mightier than the word. It's got to go on paper. And so this is what we have. And the 1688 tells us how to remove people in the parliament that have gone rogue. Now, that's why the 1688, we're born with it, and it's even if they took it out of our legislation, it actually can't be removed, because our New Zealand Maori are very different to all of the other natives in all the other countries, because they are the only ones that actually went to the court in 1865 and declared themselves subjects under the protections of the 1688. They're the only ones. And it specifically says in the 1865 that we will be protected under the Queen's law. That is also all of us Anglo people as well, that will be protected under the Queen's law. Now, when they're talking about the Queen's law, they're talking about the 1688 Bill of Rights protections. They're not talking about ordinary laws. The Majesty does not bother herself with ordinary laws. Now, the 1688 Bill of Rights is a bill to the Majesty, well, not so much to the Majesty, but a bill to the Parliament, a bill to the Majesty, a bill to the Lords Temporal, Lords Spiritual. It's a bill to them that if they want to govern, if they don't uphold it, they pay. Not us, they pay. And the way that they pay is that they have their job removed from them. They lose their position, and they're not going to get their fancy high-paying salaries anymore because they didn't uphold our common law right. Now, the 1990 is different, because you will see that it has on there the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act. It is an act, and it is only an ordinary law. And being an ordinary law, since it's an ordinary law, it doesn't have, you'll notice in there that the New Zealand Bill of Rights is a bill to you. It's not a bill to them. And it's saying if you don't give all these thousands of people these rights, you, the taxpayer, will pay. So you provide the remedy, whereas in the 1688 common law, they provide the remedy. The remedy is that they lose their jobs. That's the remedy. You don't get any compensation yourself. You're not going to make money from the 1688 Bill of Rights, but you can get them removed from taking all of your tax money. So that's what that's for. Whereas the 1990, if you're upset, you might get compensation through that, but the taxpayers pay. So that is an act, and one is called the common law and one is called ordinary law. And then Kim, I've just said to Kim here, because Kimmy's done this lovely document, so I've said to Kim that if you repeal, when it says here BOR, you cannot use the word BOR. You have to put New Zealand. If you look on the Bill of Rights, the 1688 does not have the word act.
No, so we have corrected that for Kate's presentation, and I will send my apologies publicly to you now, Kate.
I'm going to go. I'm still on the picture where I'm recording. I'm looking at the old one. Yes, so I haven't put up your new one. I'm just showing the old one so I can show the people the differences, because this is really valuable information to show the differences, because we can clearly show what the difference. So our 1688 doesn't have the word act, but the 1990 does have the word act. And so and so what else have you got there? All New Zealand people. So yes, all New Zealand people, we want it repealed. The freedom of speech, the freedom of choice, the UN is all part of this act. It's all irrelevant because...
because the whole reason to create this simplified declaration for the rest of New Zealand to comprehend is that under the 1688 Bill of Rights, we have the freedom to move, to speak and to choose. We do not have an influence of the UN because they are not part of our bill, and foreigners cannot sit in our government. But because this act, this Bill of Rights was changed to a Bill of Rights Act in 1990, and I might add, by the Labour Prime Minister at the time, Helen Clark.
No. Oh, yes, it was. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. To then incorporate that all New Zealand people, natives and Indigenous, were no longer protected under the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act 1990. We lost our freedom of speech, the freedom to move and the freedom to choose. And the UN is part of our act, and we have foreigners in our government right now. In fact, we have more foreigners in our government today than we have ever had. And the danger of that is they came in, they have been changing and passing new laws based on their beliefs.
Ideologies.
Yeah. And then when they complete their term, they leave, bugger off, go over to their own country. But, when they return to their own country, they still receive the bonuses that every other minister receives, whether they're in New Zealand or not. Now, I don't know about the rest of New Zealand, but that's not okay with me. We're paying foreigners to have a great time for being a minister. This is not right. And this is the only reason they can do it, is because they have the Bill of Rights Act 1990. So Kate, who is a wealth of information about, and so versed about these really important representations of what we have fallen into instead of what we are falling under, which should be the 1688 Bill of Rights, is the reason that we're here today.
It certainly is, because there's so many points that you've made there, Kim. There's so many points, because one of the major point that you've made is that, so we've got Ricardo Menendez, right?
Yes.
He's come from Mexico, turns up in New Zealand on an education visa or whatever he comes on, not to pick on him, but I'm just use him as an example, but there are others. But he turns up in New Zealand on an education visa, drops out of university and didn't complete his education and got a job in a movie theatre selling popcorn or something. He's in New Zealand for, 10 years. He never got,
A minute. 10 years is not long at all.
He was not voted in. This is the thing. None of these people are voted in. He was not voted in. He got in on a party list. And his first, he didn't want to swear allegiance to the Majesty, which it means that you're upholding our common law right. That's what it means. And in the first month of being in Parliament, now he's on I think he's on something like $70,000 plus.
Let's be mean, and let's just say the poor bugger's only on 65. And just be safe with the number.
Let's be safe.
That it's more than
$65,000 a year. So that's like $6,000. So he's on about what? Almost, he's beyond about, well, there's plus on all of that, Kim. He's on about
plus. And what you need to understand is that, when we talk about, okay, so Kate's talking about an MP. The price that she's given you, the salary she's given you, and I said, let's make it mean and lean, 65. The price that she's giving you is what backbenchers get. Now, backbenchers, in some cases, can get up to $100K a year in salary.
Yeah.
For doing nothing.
Yeah.
For just being a member of Parliament, sitting on the backbench, having no portfolio.
Yeah.
No inclusion.
Yeah.
But just having the privilege of being called a minister.
Yeah.
So when you are an actual minister...
And not even... And Kim, I just want to quickly say, sorry to interrupt, but I just want to quickly say, these people are not actually voted in. They come in on a party list. So they're not voted there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What happens is they get and have been getting and are still getting the privileges of what a full minister with a portfolio is getting.
Yeah, they do.
Kate, I'm sure is about to deliver you the absolute wonderful news of what happened in 2020 at Christmas time with this MP.
Yeah, he jumped on a plane, his first month of Parliament, jumped on a plane, went to Mexico, his first month. He wasn't even there. Was it the first week or the first month? Jumped on a plane, went back to Mexico to get his lover.
Hang on a minute. He was supposed to be going to see his mother. Carry on, Kate.
Yeah, went to Mexico. And he reckoned he went to see his sick father, but he just happened to pick up his lover and bring him back to New Zealand a month later. Skipped isolation.
So he spent a month in Mexico, wining, dining, enjoying.
Yeah, on a New Zealand salary.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Because he did have all of that going on in his social media platform. It is there. I don't know if it's still there, but that was all on the courtesy of the New Zealand taxpayer.
You all paid for it, and that would have come under, now I'm not going to say that he actually got this, but usually in the Parliament, that comes under, they get paid, if they have to come to Parliament outside of their family area because they travel from all over the country, then if there's an illness in their family or anything like that, they can claim on that and go back to see their family on our expense. So I'm not sure who paid for his expenses. He may have paid himself or he may not have, but I'm just saying that option was there.
I believe, Kate, that if memory serves me, we paid for his expenses, and that was the reason that we found out what had actually happened. But don't quote me on that, and I'm open to being critiqued and corrected, and I will apologise if I have made a faux pas.
Yeah, we'll just announce to everybody a disclaimer. Neither Kim nor I are journalists by trade, and neither of us are lawyers. We're just the common people calling
And
out our
neither of us
parliament.
neither of us want to be a journalist.
No, not at this present time. We don't, because we know that all of them, well, that's another issue. They can't get their jobs unless they do speak in favour of all of these laws that are destroying our country. But as Kim was saying, when these people complete their term, their 3-year term, guess what? They then go on to a retirement benefit, which is commensurate to the salary, and they are entitled to that for the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives. And
I hope that they're listening to you, Kate, because this is really important.
It really is important.
When we go to work and we work in an employment wherever we are for 20 plus years, loyalty, everything, we've been there for that long, then we no longer have to work and we retire. We get pittance for superannuation, but these ministers, they get the same as what they were getting when they were working for the government for the rest of their lives.
No matter which country they live in, no matter which country either, Kim.
No.
So, now I've lost what I was going to say. They get all that salary. Now, when you think about someone from Mexico, see now somebody that's on a salary of $6,000 for the rest of their life, even if they don't work, who's on all of that money? Because I think they do get it for the rest of their life, don't they, Kim?
Yes, they do.
Is that immediately when they leave or when they reach the age of retirement?
I can't be sure. I don't want to pass judgment on that. I just know that they certainly get their feathers, their pockets laced with glory for doing a lot of sweet FA, is all I'm going to say.
I think that they do, because I know the Prime Minister does, but I think that they do get that when they leave Parliament, they get a benefit, and I do think they get it for the rest of their lives. I'm pretty sure that they do. And although don't quote me on that, but other countries have got an age limit of how old they have to be to have major paying positions like that in Parliament, and they usually have it at 50 or 55 plus. And the reason is they immediately leave Parliament and get benefits, right? Get money paid for them for the rest of their lives. Well, when they go into Parliament at 20 years old and they spend 10 years in Parliament and they come out of Parliament at 30 years old and they get paid for the rest of their lives, you're going to be paying them for like 30 years. So it's not even sustainable.
Can I just interject? Also,
yes.
What you need to be aware of, New Zealand, is that our country is the only country that allows foreigners to sit in their government as MPs. All other countries do not allow you to become a minister or a member of Parliament in their governments because you are not a citizen. You have not been born in their country.
Every single country has that law. Now, Tokelau, New, Cook Islands, Samoa, all those islanders, New Zealand-born people are not allowed to govern in their parliament. And yet,
find that interesting?
I've read their constitutions, and they put in their constitution, it's kind of, you have to read a lot, but in their constitutions, they put in there non-discrimination and all of that. And then they put in there, but people in Parliament must follow the local customs, and then you go over to the local customary law, and it says in there, what they did is in Samoa, they put, if you want to be in our Parliament, you have to work for 3 years at local level. So that sounds good, right? So you think to yourself, okay, I'll go and work at local level for 3 years and then I can be in their parliament. But no, because then you go to the local level law and it says in there, nobody's allowed to work in local level unless they're born to the tribe. And so you can never achieve that 3-year requirement to get into parliament. So they've sneakied themselves around the law that they have to let New Zealanders work in their parliaments. The only person that we have this reciprocal agreement with is England, by the way. New Zealand people are allowed to work in English Parliament, and English people are allowed to work in New Zealand Parliament. So we had this reciprocal agreement with them, mostly because we were using British law. So,
and that's why the Prime Minister, and I use that word very loosely, was graduated and understudied and stroked into her position when she was working under Tony Blair, Prime Minister of the UK.
Well, yes, but well, it's kind of another area. Well, that's whole nother video there, Kim. But
I know.
Yeah. So we better not go there. But let's just focus. Let's just focus on the foreigners that are working in Parliament and how this comes to be. Well, how it came to be is because in the 16, I'm going to put it up, Kim, so everyone can see. But you've got yours up there. I'm going to put up the 1688 Bill of Rights. So, and it's not an act. If you go to that 1688 and then you just go to the, then you can go to the legislation, right?
While Kate's doing that, I just want to make a note. The Bill of Rights 1688, you may come across when you're researching Bill of Rights 1689 and get a bit confused. Don't.
Yeah.
Because the reason is the 1688 Bill of Rights was created in February of the year 1688,
yep.
But it was passed in the year 1689. And
yes.
The reason it was passed in the year 1689 is they started the year in March and ended the year in February. It wasn't January to December.
Oh.
So that's why it appears that the 1688 and 1689 are two separate bills,
yep.
but they are not. They're one and the same.
Yeah.
So just wanted to clarify that.
Very good for clearing that up because we really need that cleared up because I was confused. But I tend to stick with the 1688 now. But it is true. It actually ascended in 89.
Yeah, the 1688 and 1689 Bill of Rights are one and the same. It's just the date, the time stamp back in those days in the 1600s. The annual was March to February, not January to December.
Right.
So in February 1688, the Bill of Rights began.
Yep.
And it ended, they completed it in 1689 because it was March 1689.
Yep. That's right, Kim. And then it says here, if you go down to the supremacy, now this, you want to be a white supremacist. So they call this the white supremacist law, but it's not because of anything to do with colour. It just happened to be that the Majesty happened to be white. But were these laws to be passed under any other king, then it would have been called the black supremacy law. But it just happened to be that she was white and these laws were passed all through Europe first before they were sent out into the world.
It's also important, sorry, Kate, it's also important to note that back in those days, the 1400s, the 1500s, the 1600s, there was no such thing as colour.
No, there wasn't. Nobody talked in colour, no.
Of your skin.
It
has nothing to do with that. It was to do more with the language.
Yeah. They had black kings, they had Asian kings, they had black kings, they had all kings. Everybody was known by their country name. So you were Englishmen, Frenchmen, Irishmen, all the mans. And then everybody knew
regardless of your colour.
And it was never spoken. Nobody ever spoke it. It was never even spoken about, ever. It's just if you're born to that land, of parents and grandparents born to that land, then you are of that land, and then so you get called by the name of that land because you are rooted in that land. And so that's why, but
Yes.
the supremacy law, but the United Nations complained because they call the common law the white supremacy law. That's what they call it. And they want out of the supremacy so that they can reign havoc, which is what they're doing. Reign supreme.
The only reason that they're using that one particular word, as in white supremacy, is because it goes along with their narrative.
Yes.
It fits very well. And it's also the use of language, the use of words, and the interpretation. And if you look at our Prime Minister and the ministers of New Zealand today, when they speak two languages. So I will mandate, but I probably will not mandate. So this is what they're saying. They're saying two different things.
Yeah.
But you're only hearing one word, mandate.
Yeah.
But you never heard the two differences, the two inferences.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with white supremacy.
Yes, that's right. And then they speak interchangeably because they'll say Bill of Rights. It's all through the laws, Bill of Rights, because the 1990 cannot stand by itself. So whenever they need something passed in there, it's got to sit on our common law. And
there's also something else I want to just say before you go, because this is important too, Kate.
Yeah.
So you just heard Kate say they can't sit on their own, they have to sit on a law.
Yeah.
And the UN, who have infiltrated our country through the use of this act, because it is an act. And I'll give you a classic example of it so that you're really clear as to what I'm saying and what Kate's saying. The importance of our 1688 Bill of Rights versus the Bill of Rights Act 1990 is that the UN could not change any legislations or laws within our law, within New Zealand's government, because they weren't allowed to. But under the 1990 Act, they can. And how they have been doing it, and this is your example, for the last 2 years, we have had a certain lawyer in this country.
Don't say the name. Don't say the name.
And okay, I'll say the name. Sue Gray. And for the life of me, she has not been able to get one of her cases across the line, bar maybe a very small minor win. Now, there's a reason for that. Every time she has presented a case, it has been denied, and now you can no longer go back and re-present it because it's been done. But unfortunately, while it's been done and now it's shut, the UN are now able to go in. So if we, the people, said we are not happy with vaccinations because of whatever, she's got denied. It's been presented. The argument has been denied because she hasn't done the proper paperwork or whatever. She's missed out some words. But like, if we miss out words, but we're not fully legislated lawyers, just saying, then that can no longer be haggled at again. So now the UN can go in there and change our laws by piggybacking in, change our laws to help fit the narrative of this government. And that, my friends, is what has been happening to us New Zealanders, and it's time for us to wake up and play this game better.
Yeah, and I want to just show this, Kim, just to get back what we're talking about. I've got, you can't see it, but I've got showing the 1688, so everyone's just going to see, but I'm just going to show them the supremacy. The supremacy law says here clearly, I'll read it for everybody. It says here, I do declare that no foreign prince, person, prelate, state, or potentate is like a religious leader, has or ought to have any jurisdiction or a power or superiority or preeminence or authority, ecclesiastical or spiritual within this realm. So help me God. Now they have
So
made this
help
so
me God.
clear. Yeah, but they didn't
It's
just
really
say,
important that you say those words, Kate.
eh?
So help me God.
It's gone right to
Now,
God. This ascends right to God. It's not a man-made law. And
God's will be done.
God's will be done. And it's very, very clear here. I mean, they were so precise. They didn't just say no foreign person ought to have any power. They didn't say that. They said no jurisdiction, no power, no superiority, no preeminence, and no authority. No authority. And this is why they're trying to get rid of it, because it is so very clear here that foreigners are not allowed to govern over us, ever.
So again, reinstate, I do declare that no foreign prince, person, prelate, state, or potentate has or ought to have any jurisdiction, power, superiority, preeminence, or authority, ecclesiastically or spiritually, within this realm.
Exactly. So help me God.
Mighty words. These are mighty words, they are powerful words, and they are the words of protection over us, the people of this country. Sorry for interrupting again, Kate.
No, that was very well said. And that is they are almighty words. And that is a fact. They're mighty. They didn't just use one word. They didn't just say, hey, no foreigners to govern over you. You didn't. Now, the way the United Nations is getting around this is that they are a non-state. They call themselves a state and a non-state. So now the way they come in, I'm going to just show them, Kim, going to the 1990 Bill of Rights Act. And then the way they got around this was through Section 19. And Section 19 said freedom from discrimination. And they brought in all these workers' rights, and they said that you were no longer allowed to discriminate against foreigners in your country. And so they've tried to get around our common law. And so that's where they're heading with this. They're heading to get out our common law. And there's a whole lot that I could talk about this, but I won't, because it gets a bit complicated, but you have to know all the sections. But the main thing to remember is that they brought in the no discrimination. And I just want to quickly go to can you click on, as my viewers can see, the 1993 Electoral Act.
Okay.
Go to the 1993 Electoral Act. When they illegally Electoral Act New Zealand, have you got that?
Mm-hmm.
And then click on the Electoral Act of 1993, and then go down to click whole, view whole, and then, are you with me, Kim?
Yes, I'm here.
Are you clicking on this or not, or do you just want me to tell you?
No, you can. Where are you? Where did you want me to go, Kate?
So I went to the 1993 Electoral Act, New Zealand, and then click view whole on the top there.
Okay, Electoral Act 1993.
Yeah.
And
click view whole.
And then I'm just going to go, and this is our legislation. You can actually find all the stuff that Kate and I are talking about on the government page, New Zealand Legislation's government page. So I've clicked on all hold, yes.
Have you clicked on view whole?
Yep.
Yeah, and then scroll down and you'll see on there 55, number 55, and you'll see how vacancies created.
Yes.
And then you click that.
The seat of any member of parliament
becomes vacant. Yeah. So their seat, if they do any of this here, their seat will become vacant, which means they have to leave. And
so if otherwise than by virtue of being a head of mission or head of post within the meaning of Foreign Affairs Act 1999, for one whole session of Parliament, he or she fails without permission of the House of Representatives to give his or her attendance in the House, that means they can be vacated.
Yeah, but that's not where we're going there. But we're looking at we are specifically looking at our common law and our supremacy law and looking at B. And here's what it says. It says if he or she takes an oath or makes a declaration or acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign state, foreign head of state, or a foreign power, whether required on appointment to an office or otherwise. So that means that when they stand in Parliament and give their parliamentary opening oath in a foreign language, such as Samoan or Mexican or Somalian, when they do that, they already should vacate right then and there, because they're making a declaration in Parliament to a foreign state. So, yes.
No Chinese, no Mandarin, no Mexican.
They're allowed.
No Italian.
They can have only 2 languages. We're allowed New Zealand English, which is our national language, and New Zealand Maori language, if they choose to do it. They're the only 2 languages. Any other languages is an oath and a declaration to a foreign allegiance, and they should have to leave Parliament right then and there. Then secondly, it
actually says that it's C, doesn't it?
Yeah, go down to C is another one. C, then go down to C. They put in a double here. If he or she does or concurs in or adopts any act whereby he or she may become a citizen, a subject or a citizen of any foreign state or power. Now, this is the key here. Or is entitled to rights, privileges, or immunities of a subject or a citizen of any foreign state or power, or if he or she ceases to be a New Zealand citizen. We'll stop there. So that's dual citizenship. See, we'll just stop there.
Ceases to be a New Zealand citizen. Note to self.
No, well, that's me, because I can't be in Parliament because because you can't really cease. If you are born to New Zealand, that's your nationality, and you can't ever renounce it. You're born with it, and even if you try to
New Zealand, a Mexican isn't born to New Zealand.
No, so don't worry about that. But don't worry about CA. But we'll just focus on C, because that is the most important bit, because that says if they are entitled to rights or privileges of a foreign state. Well, that means if they have another passport of another state, or if they're even entitled to go back to that state and not be extradited. See, some of them come from countries that have no extradition to New Zealand. So if they commit a crime in our Parliament, right, and they can jump on a plane, go back to their country, and they are exempt from extradition orders back to New Zealand. So that just there is why they shouldn't be in our Parliament for a start.
But they also shouldn't be in our Parliament for a start, Kate.
No.
Because it states clearly that they have to be a citizen, and they're not a citizen.
No, well, they aren't. No, they can. No, because they can be a citizen, but it's talking about to be. You have to know the difference between citizen and national. They're not the same. A national is born. You cannot change your nationality, which you are born to, but you can change your citizenship, which you are not born to. So
what you're saying, are you saying that, so these foreigners who are in Parliament right now are New Zealand citizens?
Yes. Because
they're not nationals. Well, how can you become a New Zealand citizen after a month of being in the country?
Well,
how is that possible?
Well, because they have, through Chris Farfoy, through putting immigrants. Yes,
that's an interesting name.
they put immigrants. So they put immigrants in charge of our immigration, and who have been changing our immigration laws to give citizenships after 12 months in the country almost. You can get and I'll tell you another thing that they changed, Kim. In every other country in the world, if you are a resident, just a resident, so you don't have citizenship, you only have your own citizenship, but you are a resident just working in the country, you're not allowed to vote. And they changed our law to say that residents are allowed to vote. And what they've been doing is importing thousands of residents, thousands of people into New Zealand, importing thousands of people, and then making them residents in our country.
Yes.
And then those residents are voting against us. And so there's a whole corruption, but I don't want to go down there because...
So question is, Kate. The question is, Kate.
Yeah.
Is Chris Farfoy a New Zealand national?
Well, he's a little... I don't want to get into him because he's a whole video by himself. But
he's a foreigner.
Originally you had to be born of 2 New Zealand parents.
Yes. And
then they changed that to be that you had to be born of 1 New Zealand parent. But then we have Tokelau and Cook Islands, and they are actually New Zealand citizens upon birth in their country, but they're not proper New Zealand citizens like we are because they've got their own constitutions. It's kind of a whole nother video. But Chris Farfoy, both of his parents are Tokelauians. So he reckons that he's a New Zealand national. He doesn't actually say where he was born. He only says that he's a New Zealand national. I don't really know about him. But I just know that I'm not sure that he's the right person to have in charge of immigration. He was...
I don't believe he is.
He's also Minister of Justice. He's got a friggin' certificate in journalism, and they've made him Minister of Justice, for God's sakes. Where do you get that? I mean, you think that he would have at least some kind of a legal background, and he's changing a lot of our laws, specifically immigration laws. So the whole thing is corrupted, but you're not going to get them out through the protests. Your way to get them out is through the 1688 because it tells you how to get them out. Now, but I'm just going to focus on this one because it says here that if they are entitled to rights or privileges in another country, then they can't be in our parliament. But I want to show you something, Kim. Go down here. So you see where it says that B and C, right?
Yes.
And you see your 1688 supremacy, how mighty those orders were, right?
Yes.
By God and everything.
Yes.
And then you see there clearly in B and C, it does say no foreigners, right?
Yes.
Now I want you to go and look at something that they inserted in 2006. In 2006, they added section 55AA. Scroll down to there, Kimmy.
Yep.
And you see what it says
here?
here?
Parliament. Is it 55A or 55AA?
55AA. And then it says here, dual or multiple citizenship is permissible in certain circumstances, but they don't define the circumstances. And then they say, despite section 55B and C, the seat of a member of parliament does not become vacant by reason only that they are having privileges and rights in a foreign country. So we've got 2 laws here. We've got our 55B and C, and then in 55AA, they said, oh, but by the way, just ignore 55B and C because we're going to let you have that anyway. How can they write that? How can they write one law to say it is the law and another law to say that it isn't a law in the same document that goes against our common law? So I've already put this into the court. So I have submitted it to the court and asked for a declaration about that. So we all need to be looking at the heart of what they're doing. We need to change our focus. Everybody needs to change their focus. And
so here's the thing. Right now, here in New Zealand, as we all know, every person of influence in this country right now, every freedom fighter, every freedom leader, every leader of every movement, including our government, are all pushing the Bill of Rights Act 1990. Now, I'm going to put this out there in New Zealand. Ask yourself this one question. Why? Why do they all want us under the Bill of Rights Act 1990? Remembering that right at the beginning of this little video, Kate mentioned that the Bill of Rights 1688 versus the Bill of Rights Act 1990 has one change that has been, well, it's got three actually, that has been actually detrimental to us. And in short form, under 1688, we are protected. We, the people of New Zealand, are protected. Under the 1990 Bill of Rights Act, we are no longer protected. Foreigners can rule, and we have no freedoms left. Now, all of you who have been vying to pledge allegiance to one of these influencers, to one of these leaders, to your government, ask why all of them are supporting a bill where you are no longer protected. None of us are protected under it. So if we have, and I just need to clarify this with Kate, we have the Treaty of Waitangi and we have the Bill of Rights 1688. Both those treaties protect us, the people of this country. Do you realise we are the only country in the world that has two treaties that protect us, the people of this country?
No, can I just correct you? Kate? I would just like to correct you on that.
Okay.
What I would like to say to you is if you get the right declaration, the original declaration written by Busby, the English version written by Busby in 1835, Article 2 actually says, we the collective chiefs will not allow any other foreigners to govern over us unless appointed by us. And then they appointed the Majesty and the British law to come into New Zealand. And then British law came to power in New Zealand on the 14th of January 1840, before the treaty. So it had already been agreed by the chiefs in Parliament, in New South Wales and in England before the treaty.
This is why you need to listen, because this is how you get your information factually correct. Thank you, Kate.
So that's in court documents.
Yes.
And so the 1835, let's not discount, because I know that's important to our New Zealand natives, so I don't want to take away anything from them. I want to give them extra protections. So I would never seek to take anything away from them. They all think I'm trying to take it away from them, but I would never do that. So they've got
And that's
their...
the whole point of this video today, isn't it?
Yeah, well...
It's because you're clarifying. It's not about Kate Floss getting on her videos and slagging the Māori culture. And yes, people, I am of Māori descent, so don't go there.
She's a real darkie, Kimmy. You're a darkie, aren't you? You're
the other thing is that
a real
she
pasty
has
and
a
a darkie.
and a love for our culture, but she's trying to help you to understand that collectively together, the union of the balance of the two are more powerful and have more protective sway over us, the people of this country, than the Bill of Rights 1990 Act. So this is why it's so important that you understand it, you get informed about it, and then you repeal it so we can go back under the Bill of Rights 1688 where we should be, because that is the only one that allows us to have freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and freedom of choice. It is the only one that protects us, the people of this country.
No.
That's why they're fighting so hard. But Kate,
the important thing, though, Kim, the important thing is it gives you the mechanism to remove parliamentarians and judges and United Nations law when they do anything against your common law rights.
And that's exactly right. The moment we repeal the Bill of Rights Act 1990 and we are back under the Bill of Rights 1688, now we, the people, can kick out the foreigners, can kick out the UN, and can get rid of the lying deviants in the government house right now.
That's the only way to get them out. That's the only way.
Do you realise that your Governor General no longer has your best interest, as in yours, mine, us, the people of New Zealand? She no longer has our best interests at heart. She no longer protects us. She is not going to work on our behalf for our benefit, for the best of our judgments for us. She works for the Prime Minister, who instated herself as Prime Minister in this country.
Let's just go back a bit, Kim, because I do want to go back to this, the 1835 Declaration of Independence, Article 2, that says that they will appoint, and then from that they appointed the Majesty in the British law, and British law came in on the 14th of January 1840, but after that, there wasn't one treaty signed. There were several treaties signed across the country, and each one of them was a wee bit different. And they were signed between the months of February, and I think the last one was in September. And when that was signed, but if you go and look at that treaty, all it says there is if the New Zealand natives wish to be under the 1688 subject status in their common law right, if they wish to, then they can do that. But it was just a question. And even signing it didn't mean that they did wish to. It just meant that they acknowledged that that option was open to them. But it wasn't until, I'll just put this up because I think this is just important, Kim, if you don't mind, dear.
No, that's all right.
So I'm putting up the Treaty of Waitangi.
Okay.
And then if you go down to the archives, because this is the only one that's got all the versions. It should come up with a bunch of purple on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see treaty says English version. And you can click on that, right?
So where are you? You're in the Treaty of Waitangi government site, or
No, not the government site. You have to go to the archives.
Okay.
It says Treaty of Waitangi, Te Reti o Waitangi Archives. That is the key, because the government site is giving you a lot of bullshit.
Okay.
So have you got archives?
I think so.
And when you
Yes, I
click
have.
here, it should come up, you'll see a whole bunch of purple lines. Can you see all the purple lines?
Hang on. Yep.
So then you click on the original English version.
Yep.
So I'm not disputing the Maori version, because I know that there's a dispute, but I don't want to go into that dispute today. But I only just want to say there that Her Majesty said the things that she was going to do, but in the last piece, it says, in consideration thereof. So what does that mean? It's saying, it doesn't say that this is the law. It only just says, would you please consider this? And then it says, in consideration thereof, so after you've considered all of that, Her Majesty the Queen of England extends to the natives of New Zealand her royal protection. Well, the only royal protection that she can give you is the common law, and imparts to them all the rights and privileges of British subjects. So what she has said to them is, I want you to consider all of this, and then after you've considered it all, if you are agreeable, then we will give you the rights and privileges of British subjects. But that didn't make them British subjects. It only just said that they could get that if they wanted it. But then we have to go to, can you see that there, Kimmy? Did you see that?
In consideration, yeah, what you just said.
So it's just saying consider. Now I want you to click on, now I want you to go to 1865 Native Rights Act. Have you got did you click 1865 Native Rights Act?
1865 Native Rights Act.
Yeah.
Okay.
And are you clicked on that?
Yeah, I think I'm there.
So this was 25 years later. 25 years later, the natives went to the court and said to the court, yes, we would like to be subjects. And it was here that everything was agreed on, not in 1840. The treaty is only a consideration of what might be if they chose to have it. But it was in 1865, 25 years later, after all the courts had been set up, after everything had been set up to show them what they could have if they so chose to have it by their 1835, that's what they could have. Then they went to the court, and here is what the declaration, they must have asked the court, and it says here, an act to declare that the Maoris shall be deemed to be natural born subjects of Her Majesty. She adopted you, actually. And to declare that the jurisdiction of the Queen's Courts of Law extends over the persons and properties of all Her Majesty's subjects within the colony. Now, that's talking about all of us. Now, Kim.
Yes.
If you go back to have you kept your other ones open? I have.
Yes.
If you go to your 1688 Bill of Rights.
Yes.
And look at the supremacy law, it says here, no foreign prince. Now, the Majesty, everyone in Europe had to follow this. No foreign prince nor person may have any jurisdiction within this realm. And then you go and click on the Native Rights Act, and it says, we declare the jurisdiction of the Queen's Court. Now, the natives had to do this. The natives had to go and say in a court of law, what they had to do was, in 1835, they had no courts of law. So the Declaration of Independence was a useless document because they didn't have a court of law. But what they did was, when they brought in the Majesty in the 14th of January, they set up temporary courts of law that belonged to the New Zealand natives, not the British people, the natives. And then when those courts of law became functional, they then asked the natives to go to the court and give the Queen jurisdiction. And in 1865 is when the Majesty and Common Law of 1688 got jurisdiction in New Zealand over all people. It was not done in 1840 or in 1835. It was done right here in 1865. And it says it there. Now, this has not been repealed. And this is why they can't put this American law into our country, because it says here, the jurisdiction, it says within the colony. Well, I don't know if they want to call us, they're probably going to, now that they see my video, they're going to stop calling us colonists. Because as long as we're colonists, then New Zealand is still a colony. And if New Zealand is a colony, then the Majesty's courts are in power for a start. So they better stop calling us colonists. So she says within the colony, but down here it says, be it therefore declared and enacted by the General Assembly of New Zealand in Parliament, assembled and by the authority thereof. So this, she said within the colony and did not use the word New Zealand, because there's certain laws to do with the Majesty, and she can't just go jumping around into people's countries and stuff like that. But down below, they say New Zealand Parliament. So even though the Majesty said that, it still had to be approved by New Zealand Parliament that it was voted in. Now, the New Zealand natives did this themselves. So this was not done by anybody else. And they said, we choose to be subjects. And from henceforth, every single one of their children born to them is a subject by birth, unless they go to the papal church and renounce their subject status. And then they go under papal law.
They become natural born subjects of Her Majesty to all intents purposes whatsoever.
Yeah. And they're born to that. And what they're telling you to do, the common law people are telling you to renounce your English birth certificate and take a birth certificate outside of your subject status under the American law. Now, this is very dangerous.
Take us out from under the protection of what we've agreed to.
And many of the tribes have done that. So what they can do if they want to reverse that is come and see Kate Floss, and we'll take them back to the court and get a new declaration.
And we'll give them a little schooling education, and we'll teach them these words that we've just been talking about, that Kate is delivering an extreme deliverance. I tell you, I've got so many distractions going on here at the moment. I'm trying really hard to listen to you, Kate. But this is perfect, because this actually gives them the footprint. Come to the Native Rights Bill of Act and have a look. This is your right. This is your right as a New Zealander, native, born of this land. This is why there's such an importance behind why you should maintain the protection of this bill.
And this,
because after the 1990, you don't have any of this. You're now just You're like a boat without an anchor now.
Yeah, and the 1835, if you ever want to know what those chiefs ever wanted, they were screaming, we don't want foreigners to govern over us. We want to have our own power. And then, so through this, that is how they got that. And they actually have had that, they're actually taking it away from themselves now. And
so, okay, so just to get a little bit of clarity here.
yeah.
Most in our culture, and I'm just going to say before I say this, all you naysaying haters out there that are going to try and correct me, whatever. This is my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. So, carrying on. As a native Māori woman in this country, what we've forgotten is that our ancestors of knowledge, wisdom, and wairoa have gone. And I challenge anyone to tell me that we still have some left, because I'd be really interested in meeting them. So based on what I've just said, the depth of the wairoa, the spiritual influence of our forefathers is no longer in our world at this time of war. And so what we've got is a lot of makeshift wannabes who have put themselves in those positions. And yes, I just said that. And the reason I just said that is because I'm happy to stand up in front of you and challenge you when you tell me that you're my elder, because you are not. And if we're going to get tribal and all protective, Ngāti tūwhare toa, te Aotearoa, nai tahu. Thank you very much. So, next, because we haven't got that depth of understanding, we're being led by fools, and those fools have sold us out.
Yes.
Now,
yes, they have.
The story. I'm all about the, okay, give them a chance, but I am not stupid.
Yeah.
And I do not like liars.
Yeah. That's right.
You, as the Māori woman standing in my culture of knowledge, of knowing, of spiritual awareness, I am telling you, you are being sold down the river. And I'm saying, get in your canoe and start paddling in the opposite direction.
Yeah, paddle backwards. You've got to paddle backwards, everyone.
Just paddle away from where they're going with that 1990. All jokes aside, I'm going to say it again. Please, New Zealand, please look at who is pushing the Bill of Rights 1990 and ask yourself why. And now go and see why you should be repealing the 1990 and taking up ownership of running under the 1688 Bill of Rights. If you want to save this country, that is the very first thing we need to do, because that is the sword that will strike thunder down on that Parliament building, and they will all be outed for the liars that they are. And they will no longer be governing and running our lives, because they won't be allowed to, because they are the lawbreakers, not us, the people. So there you go.
So just to, we're going to have to come back and have another talk, Kim, because I wanted to show you, I won't do it today, but our main point today is the foreigners that are in our parliament and how they got to be there and why we think that's not a good idea. And we can all stand together with that, but I do want to come and do a video with you, because I want to show you about some of the other countries, how they have protected, because currently they've made our New Zealand Maori refugees. And I want to show you how I want to show you how you can have all the things that you want to have, but you have to do it in the correct way that protects your people. And since you've let so many terrible, well, not you know, New Zealand has let so many terrible things, all your protections have been removed. So we've got to put all those back in first. And then all these things that you want to do, all your health and your things that you want to do, you can still have that, but you'll have to rebuild it again in the correct way where you're protected. So
think of it as a clean canvas.
Hey,
Wipe the slate clean and start again.
And start again.
One thing that New Zealand needs to remember is, I don't know if you're aware of it, New Zealand, but in 2020, when that woman took the election away from us, the people, and said she won it fairly, she then made the grand gesture of going back into the beehive, where she walked in and removed the Bible and replaced it with the Book of Mormons. If you have followed her in the last 2 years, you will note she has taken God out of everything, anywhere in this country. Open your eyes. God gave us this land, this beautiful land. We call it God's own. And the reason that he gave us this land wasn't for the ownership and the fighting of the ownership of this land. It was to be the kaitiakis, the guardians of the whenua that we stand upon, of the water that we drink from, and of the water and resources that we have in the land and in the ocean. We were here to be guardians, protectors of that soil and the water for our future generations to build upon. So I'm challenging you, New Zealand. You who are here now, you are not the future dictators of our generations to come. We are the cleaners, the sweepers, to clean the canvas so they have the solid foundation to build on. Our future generations can build on a solid platform.
That's right.
They've already got the plan. The children already know, because when I was saying to you about our elders failed us. They have gone.
Yeah.
The truth of the knowledge has gone.
Yeah.
But it's coming back through our children. So for us left behind now, the mothers, the fathers, the grandparents, we're the ones that have to wipe the slate clean for them to rebuild the future of New Zealand. So let them have their turn.
We also, that I will just say this in Jacinda's favour. Listen to me, Kim. It really doesn't matter who was in power. They have been going along this line in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, England, Scotland, and Ireland, started with South Africa. They've been going along this line since pre-1960, since the treaty was signed, since the treaty was signed with the New Zealand natives. They have been fighting this treaty for 100 years, 200 years. They never stopped fighting to get rid of this treaty. And
no.
Yeah, and it wouldn't.
And that's why it's so important that we fight.
Yeah, but it's been very accelerated since 1975. Now, Jacinda Ardern wasn't even born then. Now, all these, yes, when in 1990, when this was created, Jacinda Ardern was 8 years old. Or was she 10 or 8 years?
She was born in 1980.
She was 10 years old when this was created, but this was actually created in 1985 by the White Paper. And Jacinda Ardern was 5 years old. So we've got to give her a break here and realise that the people, all our universities are full of people pushing this. We've got Americans all through our universities. My friend who is studying law, she has told me that they're not even allowed to receive their degree if they don't learn all the United Nations law and enforce those laws. So they can't even get their degree. So nobody has mentioned the 1688 for many years, They're not allowed to. They can't keep their jobs. So it's
Can I
all.
tell you something funny, Kate?
Yes, dear.
There was a post put up today. I'm not going to say by who because it's a movement in New Zealand. Was put up today, and someone passed a comment, and I dumped in the 1688 bill versus the 1990. And it stayed up for about 3 minutes, and the whole post with its over 400 comments was deleted.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's telling us, New Zealand.
Wow, they're trying to hide
Could
it,
we
but
be on the right track?
I have had some violent threats made towards me as well by several Maori leaders.
Well, let me just tell your listeners, whoever's listening, she may be okay, I don't even like using these words because I'm insulting my nana, so, I'm going to say it quickly. She may be Pākehā, but she has a very good heart, and she is fighting for us brown people.
Yeah, I'm fighting.
And just
I'm
so
fighting
you know,
for the darkies.
I may be brown, but I understand what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's coming from a good place. And so, yes, sometimes Kate and I disagree, and we have conversations of, disagreements, but we always come back because of the one understanding. We're here to protect all people of New Zealand.
Yeah.
My nana was an English, Irish, Swedish woman, so don't even go there.
And for many generations too, not just who's here now, but
we're not just fighting for Māori. We're not just fighting for European. We're fighting for all New Zealanders born of this land, generationally, who have been here on this land, to fight for our rights. And that's the only reason. And so for me to sit with Kate today, yes, it was a little bit off the cuff, but that's okay. Yeah. It's the first time we've done this together and, in this public arena. And that's okay too, but I just really needed to say. And don't be bossy and don't be bolshy and don't be judgmental of her because of her views. She does a lot of research. She will find out the truth. She will gnaw like a dog with a bone to get there. I am the same. We just have different ways of doing it. But we both will admit, if we're wrong, come and tell us where we're wrong. Yeah. And we'll go back and research the hell out of it some more. Yeah. But God help you if we were right and you were just wasting our time.
Exactly. But I just wanted to say that it's not about getting Jacinda out of Parliament. Because even if you get Jacinda out of Parliament, all the political parties are set up to follow these laws. So it's really,
wiping the Parliament.
You've got to get these laws out that have allowed this to happen in the first place. So that's where your focus needs to be, so you might as well keep her in there, let her be in there, and then go to the court and challenge these laws that they've given us that are shitty laws. And we need to go there and we need to challenge that. Australia needs to, England needs to. This is not about New Zealand. This is all our Commonwealth. All our Commonwealth 16 countries need to. All right, sorry. We need to challenge these laws. So we need Jacinda Ardern, or we need somebody in Parliament so that we can do this process of going through the courts.
And that's where I would have a different view to Kate, where I would totally wipe out all government, ministers, members of Parliament, anyone that's in the beehive attached to it, has been, whatever, gone. And no, I would not replace them, because right now we've got a lot of people who want to be in there and they've all got the same tone as the ones that need to be removed.
No, well,
so it's going to take a little bit of work.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you need to, it doesn't matter if you remove her because you're going to get more of the same. But what matters is if you change the laws so they're not able to continue in this path anymore, you go back to your common law where they're not going to be allowed to change the laws every 5 minutes as they please. That's what you've got to do first. And then when you've done that, And when you stop them putting foreigners in our parliament, then you change the government. Then you get the government out, because you know that the ones that are going to be replaced are not going to be able to govern in this arbitrary way anymore, because we will have fixed that before they're allowed in.
That we do it where, could it be, Kate, that we do it where the government is wiped out, there is no one re-elected into those positions, because now it is being monitored by, let's just say perhaps the military, who wait so that they control lawfulness. And in the interim, we change the laws accordingly so that these things can't happen. And then a re-election of not necessarily another government, but more about the people and what they want. Because right now, I do not see a reason to ever have another government in Parliament ever again. I think what happened with this movement showed us that we the people...
Well, I don't want to go down there, because it's a whole nother video, and I'd really love to talk about, but I don't want to end this video on that note, because I know of all of the deceptive groups. I want to say this. I know that there are many deceptive groups who want exactly that. They want no parliament, they want no government, and they want the country to be ruled in little groups across the country, and their appointed leaders to go and represent the country. And it's a whole nother video.
I don't want that.
So, yeah, I know. So we have to be really careful what we're saying here. So I would like to have an extensive discussion on that, but I don't want to end on that note. The note that I'm ending on
I'll regurgitate that, and I'll just say, okay, cut that bit out, because she doesn't want to talk about that. That's a whole nother video.
I do want to talk about it, but not with this short time frame, because I would like to spend a good hour on that particular topic.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But with this video, what we need to just reiterate, the Bill of Rights 1688
yes.
versus the Bill of Rights Act 1990
yes.
is what is most prevalent right now.
Right now. And
sort that out, and then we can sort out the legislations and the changing of the laws that have gone on behind closed doors for the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, well,
and they've certainly been rushed
30 years.
Because New Zealand, on the 1st of April, she's bringing out her next little surprise, which is to turn around and jab everyone who isn't jabbed.
Well, that's what
whether they want it or not.
That's what I'm just saying, is that it's not going to matter. You know, if you think about what would happen if we right now, at this moment, took all the parliament out and just had no leaders at all, well, that's not going to be a good situation, is it? And if we took all of the parliament out and put the army in control, well, we know that the army's been infiltrated, and that's not going to be, they're still going to be able to make all these laws. And I'm saying that nobody's been to the courts to challenge the arbitrary laws that they're making. And so I think that's the place where we have to start, is to go to the court and challenge the arbitrary laws. And there's only one way to do that, and that is our common law here. And so that's first, we've got to challenge that, because I'm just saying that, you know, if you just totally remove the government, what are you going to have? You're going to have a vacuum, aren't you? And that's all these evil...
Because we're not having that conversation right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We're having that conversation. Is the first step is repeal the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, exactly. So that they can stop, because you want to stop them making these arbitrary laws, that the new law's coming out in April, or the new law came out today, or they made a new law yesterday, or they're changing the laws every 5 minutes. Now, our 1688 says that is an arbitrary power, and they're not allowed to do it. And that is against it. And so we have got a challenge here for the court, that we just go to the court and say they're making arbitrary laws. Could we have a declaration against that? And that's going to stop the April law from coming out. So we've got to do that first. We've got to do some damage control first, Kimmy. And
yes, we do.
If we do some damage control first, then you can go on to those further issues that everybody wants to do. But we've got to put some blockers. We've got to put a plug in the sieve.
Yes, we've got to plug the dike.
We've got to
Because
plug
we're-
the dike, don't we?
The dike is about to burst the dam.
You've got, I mean, the dike is bursting. You've just got to get that bloody, you've just got to shove a stopper right up there because the diarrhea is flowing. There is diarrhea flowing all over the country. You've got to put a plug up the donga, don't you? And stop it. And
well, these bills are about as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike.
I mean, they're not even shitting. I mean, it's just diarrhea coming out every time they open their mouths. It's just diarrhea flowing out.
It's called verbal diarrhea.
But before you can stop the diarrhea, you've got to put a plug up there, don't you? And then after that, you go to the mints of what's going on in there and start to try and sort out that. And then you can do it. So we've got to put a plug up there first, and we can only do that through the court.
Yeah.
So I'm not trusting these lawyers. And I'm sorry, Kim, but the lawyers, we can't trust the lawyers.
Oh, I don't trust lawyers.
So
don't get me twisted. I don't trust a lawyer in this country, and I don't trust any of the judges. I don't trust the government. I mean, there's very few people in this country left to trust.
So, well, that's why we have to go back to this common law. And this common law, it can't be changed. You see, it just cannot be because it's from God. So that's what we've got to go to the court. Nobody, everybody's complaining, but not a single person has been to the court using their common law. None. So I have put my case in, and so I'll wait and see what's happening. I'm waiting for a reply. We better finish up, Kimmy?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And everybody, on the link below, I will put up my my bank number. Not for you, Kim. But if anybody wants to put a donation into my account, you can put a donation in, and everyone can say, "Well, Kate Floss, you shouldn't be getting that," but I might want to buy myself a box of chocolates or something for all my hard work. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to put it towards anything, but if I need it, I will. But if I don't need it, I'm going to go and buy myself a box of chocolates. But if you've enjoyed my video, and then you see in the link below my account there, if you want to go and put some money in my account, by all means, go and do that, and I'll go and buy myself a box of chocolates or something for celebration. All right, so I just thought I'd say that, Kimmy, but that's not for you. All right, see you later, everybody.
Thank you, Kate.
Bye-bye, Kim. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.